Welcome to Factorio. My name is Nilaus. Dare I say welcome to Factorio Space Age? Well, not quite. And so what we're doing today is doing a little bit of review of the announcement, the Friday Facts, the latest one, with the announcement of the Factorio DLC name, Space Age. Ha, just called the Space Exploration. That a Freudian slip, isn't it? And we're going to talk about what is in here, what do we see, what is new, what are my thoughts. I've been asked a million times already, what are my thoughts, what do I think about it? So instead of repeating it on stream every 10 minutes, I'm making this video and then I can refer to that about my thoughts. I have honestly pre-recorded this video once and it turned out to be way too long, so I'm going to do it again and try to keep it a little bit shorter. I'll be going through everything in this video here, and then we'll just talk about a little bit about it. Let's talk about this animated GIF here to see what is new. The first thing I'm noticing about this is, of course, the new buildings. We have these grabbers, we have the engines turning on now, we have the control panel thing, rocket launch facility in the middle, and then we have some small grinders. The first thing that sort of comes to mind here is that this is a spaceship. So spaceships don't look like spaceships. They look like a platform and sticking some engines on, which kind of makes sense. Maybe this is an asteroid that maybe we build it, maybe we salvage it. I don't know. We'll get to see that. But it does certainly sort of seems like you can shoot something, but the stuff that is being shot is off camera, so we don't know what that is. They're grabbing some stuff and then it's processing. Maybe this is a little thing that just floats around, grabs asteroid things and grinds them into stuff and then process them, put them into a rocket. And then once the rocket is, or the rocket silo is full, then the rocket will come over here and pick it up and send it back. Maybe that's what this one does. It's interesting nonetheless, and it just showcases a few new buildings that we need to take care of as well. So it's interesting. The thing that comes to mind is that both the engines and the grabbers, the most dominant new thing, they clearly have a different feel than other Factorio stuff. Other Factorio stuff is very industrial, and this seems more organic. Like those grabbers are very much organic tentacles, and those engines, when I looked at them, they look more like it's blood inside than it's heat. And yeah, it does seem more organic to me. That's interesting. So Factorio Space Age is the name, and what do we know about it? Well, it's about launching rockets, it's about exploring new planets, 4 new planets to be exact. Each planet will have some unique resources that will be needed for a unique science pack, and only when you have those science packs from the 3 of those, then you can unlock the last planet and go there. I think that's interesting. It also means that what they're saying is there's going to be a choice whether you want to go to planet 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, or C, and first to unlock some of the new materials there in order to progress the game. And that's another thing that they're kind of mentioning, is that they are taking some of their tech and sort of bringing it back into the tech tree. So obviously, if the DLC only started when the vanilla game ended, so that by the time you get the victory screen, that's actually when the DLC launches and you can then go on there. I don't think that would be a good game experience, because that's a lot of time and effort for a lot of people, and it feels like, yes, we made a rocket, awesome. But that's not where, for me, that's kind of where the game starts. But for a lot of people, that's not where it starts, it's where it ends. And then only at that point you start sort of have to figure out how the DLC works. That's a little bit sad. So I understand what they've done, also addressing the omnipotence you have as a player in the late game. You have rockets, you have infinite resources, you have robots delivering everything you want at a moment's notice. You can kill any biter in the world. You have nukes, you have Spider-Trons, you have Spider-Tron armies, all that stuff. You have all that available, which just makes you really powerful. And because of that, if you start the DLC from there, where do you go from there? Bigger biters? No. Bigger times 10 resource requirements. Those are not good options for starting a DLC, because you don't know where people are. So I completely agree with their decision of taking the rocket science and pushing it back to blue science, and then from there you can launch it. It is, if you think about it, it is exactly the same way that Oxygen Not Included did it. Oxygen Not Included used to have rockets being the latest tech, and then when they invented new planets, they took the rocket tech and made it much earlier, so that you can start exploring new planets with rockets much earlier. So that is the natural thing that is there, and it makes sense. So you'll be building something in space, and it says that space is for rocket science. And here I'm like, haven't we seen that before? Oh yeah, space exploration does exactly that. And maybe that's a logical choice, that you don't really have any option of, if you want people to build in space, you have to incentivize. You can either do a soft incentivize or a hard incentivize. Maybe there's something that works better in space, and therefore you want to make it in space. Cooling, probably not cooling. Cooling is actually horrible in space. But it is, if you don't hard force it, hard force people to build in space, then maybe we won't build in space. We'll just grab the stuff and send it back to our base on Navis instead of building a new base. And if they want us to build new bases on different planets and in orbit, then they have to make sure that we do this in a way. Similarly, if we talk about the science on the other planets, there's going to be a conundrum here that they need to solve, and it's going to rest between two extremes. One is extreme is that you have this new resource that leads to the new science on this new planet. So you land on the planet and you have to build an entire base again to feed it, to make a hub, to have a bus, to do smelting, to do all these things on the new planet. You have to build an entirely new base on this planet in order to make the new science, because it can only build here, and it's not just using the new resource, it's also needing 7 different other things, like a bit of iron, a bit of copper, a bit of stone, all that stuff. And then only at that point you can take the science and send it up. That's the one extreme where it's hard forced to be on the new planet. And it can be super grindy, because that means you have to build 5 bases in order to complete the game. The other extreme is that you go to a new planet, you set up a mining outpost, and you set up a rocket launch, and you just bring the new resource back. And then on your home planet, you just build everything. And in that case, do you really have any difference here? Doesn't matter whether it's a rocket flying out or it's a train coming out with a new resource, and then you won't really need the new worlds for anything. So you have to sit somewhere between those extremes of having to build everything again or not building anything. And that's going to be a tricky balance to strike, because in other games you can use stuff like resource quantity. You can't do that in Factorio because you basically have infinite resources. You have infinite map. Space constraint. You can't do that in Factorio because you have infinite space in Factorio. So what is the incentive to go to another planet? It's not space. It's not it's not resources. So it has to be something else, and that's going to be a tricky balance to strike for the different locations. They will have some advantages and disadvantages, but the massive advantage is the fact that your base already on your home planet is already fully fledged and it is functional, and that's a huge disadvantage that the new planets won't have. This base. So it's going to be interesting. It's also going to be interesting for someone like me to come up with designs for what to bring to a new planet, how to establish the initial base when you get to a planet, like land, deploy robots, deploy the starter base, that kind of thing. It's going to be awesome to design those things. And it'll be a nice logistical challenge of figuring out what to bring in and what to bring back, and what is best, most efficient of bringing back and forth between different planets. But that's something we'll get to when we get to that. So let's talk about this rewards idea, about what do you get from it. Well, they kind of have to move some of the more important, more powerful stuff to be locked behind tech in each of the different planets. I know people hate getting their tools taken away or their toys taken away, but that's kind of the only way to have it. If you can have the Spidertron, but it's the Mark II Spidertron, you don't really need a better Spidertron unless there are bigger biters. So do you really need it? Or stuff like the robot, the equipment, the fusion reactor, for example, is something that's super powerful, and you really want to get that fast. So that might also be something you want to lock behind a tech, so that you can sort of decide, do I want the Spidertron, do I want the better modules, or do I want the robotic equipment for each of the 3 different initial planets. And I think that's cool. That's interesting. What I don't think is cool at all is cliff explosives being gated by space science. Not cool at all. It is currently red-green tech, and now it's not only blue tech, but it's also blue tech on a different planet. And Korek says that it's a masochistic way. No, it's not, because you only have to deal with it once, but your millions of players have to deal with it. That is a sadistic way. That is you wanting to inflict pain and misery on your player base. And if you acknowledge that, maybe start thinking about whether that's a good move, because inflicting pain and misery is not really something that people love. For my part, I'm just going to disable cliff explosives. I don't want to deal with this shit. I think it's stupid, and I don't want to deal with it. So That's will be my recommendation to every player: disable cliff exposures, because if you have to just play for 25 hours with cliffs on, and then only after that you can build your base as you want, I don't think that's great. And I kind of feel that their incentive is mainly sort of counter me, of just going like, I don't care if there's a river or a cliff or anything. I'll pave the world and it'll be nice and flat, and I'll have city blocks everywhere and a nice bus where I want the bus. And maybe they sort of want to say, no, no, merge with the terrain, and like, I don't want to do that. Sorry, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. It's this is not how Factorio is supposed to be played in my world. It's about forcing the planet to my will, and my will is flat and square. So that's gonna be how I'm gonna play it. Maybe the first time I'll play it just to see how much I hate it, and then we'll take it from there. The choice of how the game is going to be structured, with the new update, the 2.0, being basically a mod, or basically the space exploration, space age DLC is a mod, is a pretty good idea. In my opinion, it was a really good idea. It's kind of the WoW way, where every time there's a new expansion, there's some new content that's locked, but there's also like the overall expansion of sort of the new engine gets upgraded, and all the new tech trees and all that stuff. So that makes perfect sense for me, that that they do it this way. And then it works as a mod that you enable, and then you can go to space and you can do all the stuff with the space tech and all of that. And I think that's just a testament to how well the game is structured, that they can do it this way. I've also been asked on stream, like, am I excited about the improvements to the base game? Like it says, better train management, better robot behavior, better blueprint building. Am I excited about those? No, not at all. Why? Because they're pretty damn good already. And if you improve something that's really good, yeah, it's going to be a very marginal improvement. The train management is really good in Factorio. I mean, it's not like I don't want improvements, but it's just really good. And robot behavior, yeah, if you have 100,000 robot, you can see some things that are a little bit unintended and a little bit impractical. But yeah, that's edge cases for the fringe player. Blueprint library, I think it's pretty good, with the exception of the idea of them being pointers, but that's a programmer's perspective. Then you're improving something that's already really good. Don't care very much about it. If this was Satisfactory saying, we're going to improve the train system, oh boy, would I be excited, because that is a miserable experience in managing trains in Satisfactory. So here it would go from mediocre to good, but going from great, it's already great. So I'm not super excited about those things. But it's nice, and it's good to have those. But I'm not super excited about them because, well, as I said, they are good already. Let's talk a bit about the bad news, the part about the fact that it's going to be another year of wait until we actually see this. Now, I want to throw in my own experience, and just for context, not just a YouTuber, I also have 15 years of experience working with software development. I've been working as a product manager for a development team that's larger than VOOP. So I do have experience being right there between the stakeholders who want things now and the developers who want to do things right. I have been in that spot there. So I do have some experience about the choices and the pressure they're under. And let me just start by sort of talking a little bit about the pressure. So I don't know where I saw it, but I saw something about Factorio sold 500,000 copies last year. That's a lot of money. That means VOOP is flush with cash. That's a really important fact for this, because that means they don't have a runway. It's not like in 3 months, if they don't release, then they're going to be out of money to pay the developers, and then they have a half-finished DLC, and they have to fire developers, and it's not. They don't have a financial pressure. They are flush with cash. They must be. And that's a really nice position to be in. It means that you don't have to take decisions based on running out of money, which is never like the best decisions you take at that point. So good that they're comfortable and don't have to sort of make bad decisions and make a cyberpunk launch with a shitty system that is broken all the way through, and then hope that they can fix it over the next years. So good for them. On top of that, they are self-published. They don't have, they're not a share company, so they don't have shareholders, and that means that there is no external pressure. There's no one forcing them to say it must be there because it has to be in the fiscal year 2023. No, this is the decision of the owners of the company, which I imagine is Corex and probably some of the other founders. Um, and therefore there is no external pressure to demand that it's going to be driven. Now, my impression from Corex, I don't know the person, is that someone from a development background and not from a commercial background, definitely still a commercial success for sure, but someone who is thinks and behaves like a developer first. And then you have someone like that running the company without external pressure, without anyone saying must deliver at this point. Well, what happens? What happens is that you'll be using new technologies, you'll be refactoring everything, you'll be restructuring things because they're just not efficient. And this thing that's been on backlog forever, let's finally bring that in. And and this one needs to polish, and there's this performance issue that we can really, if we restructure, and all of those things will be added into the game. Like I just mentioned, better trains, better blueprints, better robot behavior. Do we need it? No, not really. But it's something that if you were from a commercial perspective, you would just cut it out. You can do that after release. It's not necessary for a DLC launch, which is about space, but it's necessary if you're a developer that's passionate and you own the company and you want to see it and you really like, we want to make it better and we can make it better. And it's just going to take a couple of 100 hours and we are already halfway there and all these things. And I think that's just what I'm seeing from the outside. Is it bad? Is it wrong? No. Um, it's only wrong from the perspective that I don't want to wait another year. But on the other hand, we love Factorio for the scalability, the consistency, the modularity with how easy it is to incorporate mods, how everything is just well documented and well integrated, how stable it is. We love that. And we can't we can't say we love that and then at the same time saying release now. We have to accept that the stuff we love Factorio for is also the stuff that means that it's going to be another year. And it sucks. But we also know in our heart of hearts that it's not going to be bad. It's going to be great when it gets here, and we'd like to play it by Christmas break this year, but it's not going to happen. And I just think this is something we have to accept. My personal preference would be definitely not shifted this heavily in that favor. The fact that they say they've had a playable version for a year just makes my product management heart just crumble. It's so hard to have that you have a functional system for a year, a playable system for a year, and it's still 2 years from a playable to a release. Oh, that hurts hearing that. But it's their program, it's their company. They can do what they want, and they are not they're not in any financial need to take any rash decisions, and therefore they take the time. And I think that's perfectly valid. Um, Only like I can't shake the feeling of being a little bit disappointed, obviously, and so are you. So a little bit about the current state and the state of the of testing. Um, a lot of people have been asking me whether I have access to it or want to have access to it, and what I think about it, and why I don't have access to it. First of all, I've not been invited to get access to it, but I've also been thinking like, would I want to get access to it earlier? The thing is, like, I wouldn't be able to be a good tester because I don't have the time to put in to do the testing because I need to spend my gaming time on creating content. So, of course, my opinions would probably be valuable for them, but there are also other people who play could be putting more effort in, would be more valuable. On top of that, I really like being able to theorize and rant and ramble about what I think and what I perceive and what I imagine that can happen. And I couldn't do that if I had an inside scoop on the game. So having an inside scoop means that I wouldn't be able to talk about it for the next year of development, which would suck. So it's a balance because, of course, obviously, I'd like to be able to play it. I'd like to be able to showcase it to you, but it's all at their pace. So you never know. Maybe when it gets closer, maybe they will invite someone in to make a showcase or talk about what they see, or they want them inputs under an NDA or something like that. But so far, I know as much as you do or as little as you do, and I'm just excited to follow with the Friday facts as they come in. So the conclusion, and I think this is the biggest part, is the thing that is read between the lines. It's the elephant in the room in terms of this whole thing: space exploration versus space age. We have to address it, right? Because we can't not see it. We can't not see that the DLC is looking at space exploration and going, "That's cool. Can we just put it in and make it a little more, make it more acceptable? Not a little more, make it a lot more accessible." And I know that they start this post by saying, "We always intended to go to space." And I'm sure, because it's logical, you enter launching a rocket, so obviously where does the rocket go? In space. Um, but everything about it just seems like if I was looking at space exploration and go like, okay, I wanted to make this accessible, all the choices that what they've said is exactly what we see. Like, okay, we can't have this many planets. 4 planets seems reasonable. 4 additional planets, good. We can't have this many different science packs, like 80 science packs, some silly thing like that. Then, okay, we'll have one for each planet. Cool. We can't have this many resources. All right, well, one new resource for each planet. Cool. Like everything about it is just how you would make it more accessible and bringing it in while still sort of retaining the essence of space exploration. Is that good or bad? I mean, it's a really successful mod and people love it. It's probably the most successful mod. So obviously it's a popular thing. It's if it's also already in line with where they wanted to go, and that's why they hired Arundel for joining the team, then yeah, it makes sense. My only thing is that I would like to have been surprised. And nothing here has surprised me. Not the delay, not the space age content. Nothing is surprising. Everything is exactly how you would expect it if you wanted to make space exploration into a DLC. And I'm a little bit disappointed. I would love to have something that would be unique and different and exciting that we didn't think about. Like, what if they had in the GIF up top shown a belt that goes on top of another belt, an overline, and an insert or grabbing from both the lower belt and the upper belt? I would get excited about that. Like, because that would ruin every single one of my designs. And it would mean that every design would be new and exciting and exhilarating, or seeing a train go underground and just having a train station underground. Like, wow, I would be excited. But here it's like, yeah, it's space exploration, light. Nothing about this is new or innovative. It's exactly what you would expect, and that's I need that. I need something that's not just, oh yeah, we've seen that before. So if you hear me express some kind of or feel that I'm a little bit disappointed about it, it's because I wanted something new, something unique, something that couldn't be done with a mod, and and maybe it's there. I hope it's there. I think it's there, but we haven't seen it. And I was hoping that that would be the first thing they would present, would be something where we could just see like, oh, built in multi-layer, like Shapes 2, for example, like Dyson Sphere Program, like Satisfactory, like Tectonica, like Foundry. Oh my God, every other game can do multi-level belts except Factorio. And those are the kind of things where, like, those are the stuff I wanted. This is stuff that I wanted as a surprise announcement. Like, wow. Um, and that's where my disappointment. Like, the 1 year delay is disappointing. The fact that everything here is exactly space exploration, if you wanted to make it into a more accessible vanilla experience. So we'll cross our fingers and keep a vigilant eye on future Friday facts to keep an eye out for something that is new, truly new and unique, that will ruin all of our designs, because that's what I need. I need to be able to, or I need, I need to be going in fresh and changing it up so that it's going to feel like a new game, because there are some new capabilities that you didn't have before. And not just, well, is it a train? Is it a rocket? It's gonna go back and forth between destinations. So that's something we'll definitely keep in mind, and keep an open eye and an open mind for future Friday facts as they progress. Since Factorio is 1 year away from release, at least, then I also think that my idea about not playing Factorio until the expansion hits is a little bit too long. So if you want to see more Factorio stuff here on the channel, then start yelling in the comment section, and we'll see what we can do. I'm working on some ideas. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, hit the like button. Let me know in the comment section if you like more of these ranting, rambling videos about stuff. And then I will see you guys either on Twitch or on Discord or here on YouTube. Until next time, take care and stay effective.